Hello and welcome to Afternoon Tea with Karen. Today we're having a celebrity special with Felicity Marlowe.
I think what I wasn't expecting to see in the program was a lot of the erotic sexual content. I was not expecting to see that in all of the sex ed that I had done before. It wasn't so erotic. I didn't know why that was there. I thought it was inappropriate. I thought it was uncomfortable for my students in the classroom. Safeguarding policies, parents and teachers are worried about that for lesbians who feel that their sexuality is actually being erased by the idea of gender identity. And that's not based on hate, that's just how they feel. Girls, obviously, feeling like they don't have access to the privacy of a single-sex toilet or change room, or they're going to be put in a room, and they don't hate the trans kids, they don't, but they just have this obvious desire for sex-based privacy. The teaching methodologies was something that stood out to me in particular, which introduced role-playing, and role-playing things that I found very shocking, and then this new concept of having to debrief the students because they might be traumatised by it. I'll give you some examples from Respectful Relationships. You are a 16-year-old girl who was sexually assaulted by her boyfriend. You do not want to see your boyfriend, but he goes to the same school. You do not want to go to school and your grades are really suffering. Like, it's an important topic, but I would not get kids to role play that. As a kid who was in a classroom as one of those people who had been assaulted, I would have found that extraordinarily traumatic. Here's another one. You are a 15-year-old boy who has been forced to give your uncle oral sex. You are so ashamed, but are scared that he will hurt you if you say something. I won't go on, but I find the role-playing aspect of that extraordinarily a massive and extraordinary change, and I worry about the kids for that. Also, even in the way that you guys were talking, I noticed that there's no framework for expressing concerns about these programs that aren't somehow anti-trans hate. And I think the students feel that as well, and the parents, and I think that's one of the key sources of resistance. Anyway, that's my point of view, and I just wanted to hear what you have to say about that. Give you a chance.
Yep. Done. To you and go?
Yeah, absolutely. Part 8 of our recommendations talks about improving facilities funding and infrastructure funding for primary and secondary schools to absolutely do that. Include single cubicle, gender neutral toilets for anyone in the school community, whether it's a visitor, a parent, a carer, a teacher, an education support class, an aide, and a student, to have access to a change room or a toilet or a bathroom that is gender neutral, so they can make a choice about where they would like to go. Absolutely. Change rooms are also incredibly important, so that everyone, and it also, I find in many schools I've worked in, it becomes the ad hoc thing is the disability toilet.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't approve of that, having a child who needs mobility aids to get around. They find that really difficult when they have to use the disability toilet, and it's not appropriate. I think if you looked at part 8, we talked about we needed all gender single cubicle toilets and change rooms available to everybody, including sensory wellbeing rooms and other places. So we're thinking about the whole school community requiring places in the school they can regulate, be safe, go to the loo, refresh, get back into class. In terms of things like some of the delivery, my experience of delivery, of having worked in a number of schools and also been looking at teacher training for about over the last 20 years, that's primarily what I have done, is that you always have a group agreement. You always have an agreement and a safety warning, and that is discussed very thoroughly in front of the Respectful Relationships curricula, where it talks about when you're sitting in a classroom of 16-year-olds, which would be Year 10 students, which is the last year you really do Triple R, or Year 9 students who are 14 or 15, you have a group agreement. You say, what are the things that we're going to be aware of? We're going to be aware of not judging each other, keeping what's said in the room. Who do you talk to if you're upset by the content? What do you do when you want to leave the room because you are upset? How do you indicate to the teacher? Have you got a wellbeing person? We always had a wellbeing person attend or be available when these curriculums are being taught in Year 9 or 10 classes or other classes. So I think some of the safety concerns are dealt with because the teacher, this model allows it to be a teacher who has become potentially a trusted adult or a person that the child knows pretty well, who've seen around the school. They're teaching the curriculum. It's embedded within the school community. It's not an external provider coming in for a day, doing their thing and leaving. It's actually all about embedding that care and concern into the school, because we know when a child has a trusted adult, and child safety standards talk about this constantly, they say that if a child has a trusted adult they can talk to, they're more likely to disclose sexual assault or other issues, because it is someone maybe outside their family they have feel confident will support them. And that's what a teacher is showing when they set up a group agreement. They talk about the parameters in which discussions will happen, and they deliver this material with kindness and care. So I think that hopefully responds to some of the sort of day-to-day concerns I would see as a parent, but also as someone who's worked in this field previously. I think I just wanted to push back also a little bit about the LGB Alliance. Like they, I think who you were talking about, who you work with, Moira, or who you said were fans of yours, and they are an imported organisation that is in Australia now. LGB literally just means lesbian, gay, bisexual. They are anti-trans. If you look at their website and other materials, they are not supportive of gender-affirming care that saves the lives of our children and our older trans community. So it is just really important when we talk about the groups and the different groups that we're very clear about the aims of these groups and how they're articulating their support or lack of support for certain social changes at the moment, and that would be the same with this curriculum. I think parental expectations are really important. I've sat on my primary school's education policy committee and student council. I think they're really important to get engaged in your kids' education, and I was the chair of the policy committee for 4 years. So I have a lot to do with the PAL, or the Policy Advisory Library, that all teachers and school staff can access, as well as families. And you can read there the expectations you would have on sexuality education, LGBTIQA plus support, complaints, which parents are welcome to do, and they've introduced in secondary school different levels of complaint systems post-COVID as well for parents and carers to make about the principal or about the school curriculum or anything like that. So there are already levers and opportunities for anyone with a complaint about a curriculum to put that in writing and have that addressed. And I think that's incredibly important to be able to do that. There's Parents Victoria, there's Parents Line, there's other support mechanisms parents and carers can use to ascertain what their rights and responsibilities are and what actions they can take. And I do think that parents have that right and responsibility, and I approve of that being the case. So I hope that just maybe reflects to the rest of the committee some of the concerns that Ms Deeming was raising, and those would be my responses. I'm happy to give more responses in writing later.
Just one more thing, Trin, if you don't mind, just very
Also,
quickly.
Did you?
Oh, do you want to speak to? Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I got that from here, and it's a very quiet piece. From the Victorian government website, in 2004, the Love Makes a Family campaign was launched with Felicity as coordinator. Felicity co-founded Rainbow Families Victoria in 2006 and became the executive director of the organisation in 2017. Her commitment to achieve recognition of diverse families and lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, intersex and queer communities has been a driving force for change and instrumental in achieving key legal reforms and increasing social equality. These reforms include legal equality for same-sex parented families, the rights to record two mothers on a birth certificate, access to fertility treatment for single women and lesbian couples, a legal framework for surrogacy, and equal access to adoption. Star Observer. Community Spotlight. Felicity Marlowe, Director of Rainbow Families Victoria. What area do we need to focus on at the moment? And this is 2018. I have the top 3 at the moment: birth certificate reform for our trans and gender diverse community, ceasing medical intervention on intersex infants. I think that, let's go there. And ensuring our education system from early childhood to primary and secondary schools is inclusive, welcoming, and values our LGBTI, gender diverse, and non-binary young people. Our rainbow families are full of parents and carers with diverse lived experience willing to share their excellent tips. So instead of relying on social media, we have created a series of community workshops to share how you choose the childcare centre best suited for your child. You can check out our website there for upcoming forums near you. Inner city teachers push for mandatory jabs ahead of return to class. State school teachers in inner Melbourne are pushing for mandatory COVID-19 vaccinations for school staff and jabs for almost all eligible children before face-to-face learning resumes, arguing Victorian schools are not yet safe enough to return of millions of students. A breakaway group of Australian Education Union delegates who represent staff at state schools in Melbourne inner suburbs called the Andrews government to mandate vaccine for all school staff before students return to on-site learning. And so we have first on the left is Felicity Marlowe. And ACT passes Australian first legislation banning irreversible medical procedures for young intersex children. I wasn't going to go there because the trans activists went mental over this on Twitter. Advocates say children often undergo unnecessary irreversible medical procedures when they are too young to consent. So back to Felicity. Thank you very much. And see you later. Bye.